Welcome back to Media in Focus. We're discussing partisanship in opinion writing with Evangelista of the Inquirer, Lito Banayo of Malaya, and Vergel Santos of the CMFR. Several opinion writers are labeled as yellow columnists, right? I don't know if present company is included.
I don't think so.
How are columnists chosen?
As I've said, columnists are chosen by tradition, in any case, from among seasoned journalists, meaning journalists who have done enough years in reporting, and journalists who have covered a fair range of news territory, so that they may be expected to offer informed opinion on matters of public interest.
Right.
And also, reporting develops in a journalist a sense of detachment, which is the closest
detachment.
That you can have.
That's the key word
detachment,
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Detachment. Objectivity is a myth. I mean, we all know that.
Yep.
So we're not going to quarrel over objectivity. It's a myth.
Okay.
But detachment and sense of fairness are two things that are developed in reporting. I mean, if you had good editors, they would ensure that you develop those things.
So for people who are not trained as journalists, you can't expect them to be objective. You can't expect them to be detached.
There are people are enlisted. Other people are enlisted. Non-journalists are enlisted. Experts in certain disciplines. You know, experts in certain specific matters. Sociologists, psychologists.
But you see, you use the word detachment as an operative term here.
And I don't agree detachment is a necessary virtue for a columnist.
Why not?
Well, for one thing, as Vergel and everyone will agree, at least in this panel, there is no such thing as objectivity. And
well, I know that you don't believe in the word objectivity.
At least in terms of opinion writing, mostly about opinion writing. That's why it's hilarious, the sort of hate mail I get when they say I'm biased. Of course I'm biased. I may not be biased for a candidate, but I'm biased for whatever liberal stance I'm taking today or what I'm against today. I don't think detachment is a necessary virtue because we fight for things. We care about what we stand for. So I was not trained as a journalist. I was not taken in by the Inquirer as a journalist. I only developed it late. I mean, I started in the craft very late. But I don't think detachment is a virtue. Sometimes it may be a problem.
No, detachment is a virtue. Because detachment is the lack of emotional connection to a subject or a character at issue. This is what you need. Or else, well, you'd be writing with undue emotion.
Exactly. So speaking of the necessary virtue of detachment, the accusation that we have had yellow journalists in this last campaign who were very soft on Noy Noy as a subject matter of an opinion column. Do you agree, for example, that there is such things as there's such an animal as a yellow journalist and that they went soft on the candidate Aquino?
That's part of their bias. That's a part of their opinion. But on the other hand, I've also seen a lot of columnists, a lot of journalists who are not only too soft on Manny Villar, for instance, but
orange journalists.
Who practically, you know, copied the press releases of the Villar camp. No? You've seen that.
So how do we achieve balance? I mean, there has to be some kind of balance in a paper, unless, you know, the paper makes a pronouncement that all of us here are for a certain candidate.
I think we have
the Washington Post did that.
Yeah, but I think we have a tendency to confuse reporting with opinion writing.
Yes.
Okay. You know, balance is to reporting, but not necessarily to opinion writing.
I think it would be good to have balance. I think the one standard for a columnist, no matter how opinionated you are or how much bias you have, is an attempt at fairness.
Okay, even in the op-ed page?
Definitely, especially in the op-ed page.
So how do you achieve balance in an op-ed page if you have, let's say, eight columns there?
The balance is achieved. The balance is struck by the editor of the page himself. So that if you have 8 columnists, you make sure that you have 8 columnists who have 8 different
biases.
This is how it is.
Okay, is that the reality, or is that more of the ideal situation?
That is the ideal situation, but sometimes we're close enough to the reality, you know, to the idea.
All right, Lito, what lessons can we learn from this incident, this current item we're talking about in the case of Cunanan?
Well, there really isn't very much in terms of ano kasi the Inquirer has that right, no? I mean, it's columnists are really contractuals, no? We're not staff people, so the moment the paper says we don't want you for whatever reason,
2 weeks notice, goodbye.
even probably your writing style sucks as far as the paper is concerned, so you go.
Okay,
We're making too much of it.
We're making too much of it.
Yes.
All right.
There's nothing there.
And this is a normal event.
Oh, yes.
Well, on that note, I wish to thank the three of you for joining us tonight, Lito, Pat, and Vergel. We leave you with a story about controversial columnists. Join us again next week as we cover the media covering the outgoing President Arroyo. I'm Cheche Lazaro from Media in Focus. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
The saying goes that everyone is entitled to his or her own opinion. But history is not always kind to those with radical views, especially when thousands get to read or hear what they think. The fall of veteran White House journalist Helen Thomas is a recent example. Thomas was a trailblazer in the White House beat and covered presidents since 1960. She was also a columnist for the Hearst newspaper until this comment forced her to end her 50-year career.
Any comments on Israel? We're asking everybody today. Any comments
Tell them
on
to
Israel?
get the hell out of Palestine.
Ooh.
They go home.
Where's the home?
Poland.
So the Jews,
Germany.
You think the Jews go back to Poland and Germany?
And America and everywhere else. Why push people out of there who had lived there for centuries?
Her remarks drew a storm of criticism. She apologized for the comment and retired. Like Thomas, Hong Kong-based columnist Chip Tao is no stranger to controversy. His article entitled The War at Home, published last year, drew flack from many Filipinos. The article described the Philippines as a nation of servants, saying it has no right to claim the Spratly Islands from China. The Philippine government blacklisted Chow and denounced his column as racist and demeaning. Chow apologized but insisted that his column was meant as a satire. The Philippines has its share of controversial columnists. Malu Fernandez of Manila Standard Today drew the ire of many readers in 2007 for her article From Boracay to Greece that ran in the People Asia magazine. The article was about her trip abroad, which she described as a personal hell, with noisy and perfume-bathed overseas Filipino workers on board the plane. The backlash from OFWs and the blogosphere was so strong, Fernandez resigned. Yes, everyone is entitled to his or her own opinion, but the fate of columnists like Fernandez, Tao, and Thomas show there are opinions that are better phrased and those best kept to yourself.